Annie, bonsoir, and welcome to our regular council meeting for February 7th, 2024. I'd like to begin the meeting by acknowledging that we are in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Robinson-Huron Treaty Area and wish to recognize the neighboring community of Dokis First Nation. While we meet today, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and in improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. And with that, I need a resolution to adopt the agenda. Willie and Roger.
Be it resolved that the agenda be adopted as presented.
All those in favor? Thank you. So just to note that we have a new Mel. It starts with an M, Mark. Mel is on a well-deserved holiday, so Mark will be acting as deputy clerk. So we'll give you a little bit of leeway here. All right.
Be careful.
Oh yeah, watch what you wish. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. There are no delegations tonight. And we'll move on to the report 6.1.1. You have before you your quarterly clerk's department report. Now I know Mel's not here, but if you have any, I'm sure everybody's read it. If you have any questions, we can direct them to Mel when she gets back. Everybody okay with that? Good. Let's move on to 6.1.2. And we have a resolution to receive and endorse the Trout Lake Lakeshore Capacity Assessment Report dated December 8, 2023, prepared by Hutchinson Environmental Sciences Limited. So I'll need a mover and a seconder. Willie and Bob.
Be resolved that council receives the Trout Lake Lakeshore Capacity Assessment final report dated December 8th, 2023 and endorses the recommendations as included in the report. Additional waterfront development on Trout Lake, such as the severance and development of new lots, should not proceed within 5 years as part of a conservative approach to lake management. An annual water quality monitoring program should be initiated, and an updated lake capacity assessment should be completed in 5 years. And further that the report be submitted to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, and the Sudbury East Planning Board.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. We'll move on to 6.1.3. So we do have a resolution to request the Ministry of Transportation to conduct a traffic study on Highway 534 and Highway 64 from Trout Lake Prevost Roads to Hood Road in the town of Noelville. And I'll get a mover and a seconder, and then we can have the discussion. Renee and Dave. And I'll turn it over to you, Mark, so you can give a bit of history because that dates back a little while.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for the record, this is a file that began in late 2022, early 2020, late 2019, early 2020, prior to the pandemic taken over. And we had received a letter from a concerned resident on Highway 64 with the speed limits entering the community. We started the procedure, but for some reason the file did not get completed. I was fortunate to be able to meet with officials from the Ministry of Transportation a couple of weeks ago in North Bay. So I mentioned that council would be interested maybe to revive this. So hence why you see the resolution in front of you this evening. I'm happy to report that a similar study was conducted in the community of Alban. They're in the midst of finalizing that report, and I've been reassured by the ministry officials that we will receive a copy of the report and the final findings of the study that was conducted in the last year and a half on that route. So that's basically why the resolution is before council this evening, and especially with concerns relating to the developments that have been occurring at Jules Chartrand Park over the last couple of years, the introduction of the new playground equipment for the kids and the new activities that are set forth there. It was time to reevaluate the traffic.
Sure, go ahead.
Mark, do we know when they do these traffic studies? Will they do it like in the summertime during our busy time versus the winter time? You know, because in the winter, there's not much traffic, but in the summer is where the issue is, right?
Through you, Madam Mayor, part of the rationale is I'll be forwarding some of the events that are being held at the park, and they will not just rely on mechanical counting or devices, but they will also be sending actual people to sit and watch, and may actually try to send somebody to one of the events to observe what is happening.
Any further questions? Dave?
I'm happy to see this on here because I've had a few people ask me about that are between Hood Road and Noelville. So I'm happy to see this here.
Anything, any other questions, comments? Then all those in favor? Oh, you got to read it. I know, sorry. I was
I
trying to
told
say-
you to be careful. Be it resolved that council requests that the Ministry of Transportation conduct a traffic study on Highway 535 and Highway 64 from Trout Lake, Prévost Roads to Hood Road in the town of Noelville.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. There is no financial report for this meeting. We'll move on to the Recreation and Community Services report. You can find that in your package. I see Jason's here, so are there any questions with regards to the report? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one. And that's Emergency Protection Services. So you have the quarterly report from Bylaw Services. And I believe, yeah, Kevin is here, of course. Kevin's here. Any questions with regards to the Bylaw Services Department? None? All right. And then we have the Fire Department bylaw, and I see Rock is online. If you have any questions with regards to the report from the Fire Department? Seeing none, let's move on. We have Building and Planning. You have the quarterly report in there. Is Andrea online? No? Okay.
She's in St. Charles.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Did anybody have questions? No? All right. Let's move on to 6.6.1, the Public Works Department. Any questions with regards to that? I know Martin's away on holidays. Okay. And quarterly report for the operation of the Fleet Department. No? And now we get into the quarterly report for Environmental Services Department. Any questions with that report? No? Boy, you guys are quiet. Everybody read their stuff. All right, 6.4, we have the Chair of the Environmental Advisory Committee, and I will turn it over to you, Bob.
Thank you, Your Worship. We had, I even forget the date, our meeting last Wednesday, January 31st. We had quorum. We have put out a, how do you call it? Not a tender, but we are short one member, possibly two members. We have put out, we asked for volunteers to sit on our committee. The date is February 9th that we put on it, which is this coming Friday, I believe. And as of now, we have nobody that has stepped up. I would ask council if they know anybody that would be willing to sit on this committee to please approach them or approach myself and I'll approach them because we need more public on this committee. Yes, Renee?
The one email we received from that one lady down Shanty Bay Road?
I will be
She-
contacting that lady.
Okay,
Yeah, she showed interest, but we possibly need two people. Because right now, we're more or less sitting with more members from council, which was not the objective of the plan years back. We discussed Earth Day that's coming up, and again, we're short one member there, so I would like one of our members to step up. Right now, it's a committee of two, or should I say a committee of 1.5. It is Joan and myself, and Joan has really picked up the slack and going forward with this. Earth Day, I put in front of you, all of you, our poster, French and English. It's going to be held in Halbin at the Community Center, April 20th. Things are falling into place very well. We have Science North that have shown interest, and they'll be there. Sudbury Boat and Canoes, Noelville Home Hardware, Sudbury Solar Systems. So it's rounding up. We haven't approached we're gonna do like last year, that was here upstairs at the arena, a reuse, recycle yard sale type of thing, flea market. We haven't started approaching these people yet. These are more locally. So that will be going on in starting probably next week.
I'd be willing to help you guys out, Bob, if you wanna.
Pardon me?
I'll help out with that day there, if you guys want help.
Okay, we'll
You
we'll
give me a
talk
call.
after the meeting.
Okay,
We discussed waste management, the two options that we have on the table. And the committee was very adamant and for the pickup, and we sent a resolution to council recommending that we go for the full curbside pickup. We had a request from a food recycler, compost people, that they wanted to give a delegation to our committee to tell us what they do, sell their product. So we're gonna have them, and we're probably going to tack that on to our Earth Day, that if they're willing to push their product, this would be a good place for them to show it. And we had our round table was again discussions about the waste management and our carbon footprint. And we had one guest, Mr. Willie Schneider at our meeting, which is always very welcome, and any council member is always very welcome to any of our meetings. And with that, Madam Mayor, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Bob. And I look forward to the Earth Day activities that are coming up. Are you planning to go into the schools like we did last year?
We have talked about doing something with the schools.
Okay,
It's we haven't decided on anything concrete. Also, Kevin showed us little gifts
yes.
that he has picked up, I think that for a total of 300. I remember right, that we will be able to at the Earth Day to
Handout.
give out to our people.
Perfect.
But with this, the schools, no definite plans have been made. There has been some discussions, but that has to be firmed up yet.
Okay, fair enough.
Am I right in saying this, Kevin? 500,
Even better.
yeah, and they're all very nice.
I saw them. They're great. Cool. Thank you. Any questions for Bob? All right, so now we're going into 6.6.5, which is what everybody's been waiting for. So before we get into the process, just want to lay some ground rules, okay? The way that we will do it is I will invite Kevin as the manager to present his report and recommendation. And then once we do that, Deputy Clerk over here is going to read there'll be questions. If you have any questions with regards to the report, you can direct them to Kevin. Once that's done, then we'll get the motion on the floor, the original motion on the floor. So we'll need a mover and a seconder to get the original motion on the floor. And then I understand, and I've seen, and I've discussed, there are amendments coming to both option 1 and both option 2. So there'll need to be movers and seconders for that. Once we get into the amendments and then the amendments on the table, the only thing I will allow you to do is to speak on the amendment, not on the report itself, not on the entire option, but only on the amendments. And so once the amendments are either passed or declined, then we'll move on to the big question and whether we choose option 1, option 2. At that time, I'll open up the floor and I will go to every counselor for you to express your views. I know that we're all passionate about our positions, but we can express our views with dignity and respect, and I expect that from everybody, including myself. And once the discussion is just about done, once every counselor has had a chance to speak, I will turn over the chair to the deputy mayor so I can have my final say. Once that's done, then the motion, we will vote on the motion. Now, the way that it's going to happen, you're going to have, each counselor will have to choose option 1 or option 2. So when I call the question, I will ask those in favor of option 1, and you will raise your hand. And those, and the deputy clerk and myself will take note of it. Then I will ask who's for option 2. Again, deputy clerk and myself will consult, make sure we get it right. And then we will announce the results. If there is a tie, it is the chair that breaks the tie, only in a tie. All right? So everybody understands the ground rules? Okay, everybody comfortable? Any questions? No? So then I now turn it over to you, Kevin.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Tonight, the Waste Management Public Consultation Final Report. Feels nice to say that. I'm going to skip the background and go to the analysis, save a bit of time. We all know the background. The consultation period was launched on November 22nd, 2023, and was open until January 26, 2024. On January 24th, 2024, staff presented the initial results from the Waste Management Public Consultation Survey. The special meeting included the in-person virtual public consultation process. The municipality had 32 guests join in council chambers for the in-person process. 11 registered participants, 5 joined in virtually, and 2 others in-person participants that provided their views on the potential changes and the options that council is considering for the waste management system. In summary of the discussions and comments that were received through the consultation process, were wildlife accessing waste and potentially becoming a danger, the increase in tax assessment that would be consumed by residents and businesses for option one, the transfer sites, increase in taxation for option one, impacting economic development and impacting other municipal projects, the convenience of no controls that exist with the 24-hour access to the current system, island residents limited access to services, both with curbside recycling and transfer sites, seasonal residents, apprehension of not having collection services align with their residency, level of service for Minettville residents under option one, and then card pass as an option at transfer site locations instead of an attendant. Some of the survey results, I'll just hit some of the key highlights. Survey total votes was votes for transfer stations, 309, votes for curbside, 340, and votes for neither were 105. Permanent residents, what a total was 449 total votes. 37% were for transfer stations and 53% were for curbside, 10% for neither. For seasonal residents, 304 total votes, 47% were for transfer stations, 33% were for curbside, and 20% were for neither option. And then just showing that for the residency of the status of all the people who partaked in the survey were 60% permanent and 40% seasonal. And then we broke it down by ward the best we could. We went into the back end of the survey to do so. That's why we have the unknown ward, just like I stated before. That's for Highway 64 and certain areas where people were aligned in like 2 bordering wards or 3 in some portions. So that's why we have the unknown ward in there. Conclusion and recommendations. Pardon me. The recommendation for option 2 stems from thorough evaluation and analysis by staff supported by multiple factors. Firstly, the waste management review. Initiated in 2019, staff proposed curbside collection as the optimal solution for the municipality's waste management needs. Subsequently, an extensive review conducted by JP2G costing $30,000 and spanning 8 months affirmed curbside collection as the preferred option. The second factor being the Environmental Advisory Committee support. The Environmental Advisory Committee has endorsed curbside collection as the most practical and sustainable choice, further strengthening the recommendation. The third factor is the public survey results. A significant portion, 30% of residents participated in a public survey, with the final numbers being in support for curbside collection. Although some residents prefer neither system and resistance to change is acknowledged by staff. It's anticipated the adjustment periods will be minimal, like with our recycling program. And the final factor, cost effectiveness and service uniformity. Staff recommends option 2 for curbside collection due to its cost effectiveness and ability to maintain consistent service levels across the municipality. When the transfer sites were brought into effect, they were equally distributed across the municipality. Option 1, having only 2 sites, will be an unequal level of service for outlying residents, whereas option 2, wherever you reside, will be the same level of service and will enable better control over the waste stream entering the landfill site. Currently at our transfer sites now, we cannot determine what is going into the bins and black waste bags. Even with the bylaw in place, residents still go multiple days with 2 bags per visit, which has shown that a significant amount of recycling, approximately 42 tons, has ended up in our landfill waste stream in the 2023 operating year. Staff is taking consideration all public suggestions, comments, and concerns with both waste management options presented. However, option 2, household curbside collection, aligns appropriately with long-term sustainability goals for the municipality's landfill site. The recommendation is for council to choose option 2, curbside waste collection, and to enter into a trial household waste curbside collection contract for a minimum of 3 years, and to discuss potential issues or changes to the program beginning of the second year, and that the decision regarding Sunday landfill hours be postponed for a later date. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions on the report for Kevin? No. Okay. Well, then I'm going to ask if we're ready to table the motion, the original motion. Okay. Before we do that, I need a mover and a seconder to table the original motion that was given to you on Monday. Okay? Dave and Bob. Mr. Deputy Clerk.
Be it resolved that council receives the Waste Management Public Consultation Final Report dated February 1st, 2024, and further that council adopts the following solution for the waste management system. Option 1, controlled transfer stations, subject to Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks approval, household waste only, 2 site locations, Noelville and Alden, open 3 days per week, 10 hours per day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, fenced in and camera monitored. Attendant on site to ensure waste management bylaw is being followed, verify proof of residency, types of waste and volumes. 2 bag limit as per current waste management bylaw, and bi-weekly curbside recycling pickup to continue. Option 2, curbside waste collection, weekly curbside pickup, Mondays in seasonal areas, bi-weekly curbside recycling pickup to continue, bag limit to be determined.
Thank you. Renee?
I'd like to bring an amendment to option 1.
Okay.
Do I
Can you
need a-
read your amendment?
The amendment?
Mhm.
I would like to include take away open 3 days a week for 10 hours a day to 2 sites. I'd like to keep the same regular days that we have, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesdays. I think it works well. Also, the attendant on site to ensure waste management bylaw is being followed. Replace that with the sites may be monitored with current staff who already service the transfer sites and bylaw to ensure the waste management bylaw is being followed.
Okay.
And then also, when preparing the request for proposal for contracting out the service, the waste management transfer sites, to have the cost to include the rentals or leasing or purchasing the appropriate equipment to be included as options for consideration and then report back to council.
I need a seconder for that. Willie? Any discussion, again, just on the amendment? And I'll start a speakers list. I'll start with you, Bob, and then Dave.
Okay, question for clarification.
Sure.
When you say 2 sites take away the 10 hours, what were you proposing? How many hours were you proposing per day? If the
That-
10 hours is not good.
Well, right now it's open from Saturday at 5 o'clock all the way till Wednesday morning. And I would like that to continue those same hours.
Then you want it open 24 hours a day?
It would be open 24 hours a day, yes.
Okay, thank you. And when you say the site may be monitored with the current staff, you want to take our current staff to be there 24 hours a day?
No, it's not 24 hours a day. The site is monitored with cameras. But if there needs to be, then the current staff that already works there, as per one of the reports that Michelle gave us out some hours that they currently go and monitor, that the current staff that will not be emptying the garbage trucks. That staff could be monitoring. They could do some of the hours if need be to go and drive around and monitor those sites because the sites do not have to be monitored. Well, they do have to be monitored 24 hours, but not in person monitored.
Now,
So-
our, if I may, Madam.
Of course, of course.
And I want to clear it up in my little French head. We have personnel monitoring our current dump site that have been trained and know what to do. Now we're asking the people that were picking up drivers, picking up our old bins, if I can call them that for clarity, and to be there and at the gate and monitor. There would have to be some training done. Are these people, they were working for Public Works, are we pulling them away from Public Works? Also, there's a union thing that this is not in their job description.
They currently work for those, like the one position, if I remember correctly, when we hired for the truck was for garbage. So that person, it's already in his job description. They already use people from Public Works to go and monitor the sites right now with no special training. So I'm assuming
not-
that those same people can be used. I'm also assuming that we do have 2 bylaw officers that currently do some checkups during the summertime. So this could be part of their monitoring service also in between. As we all know that the Noelville site has had monitoring and fencing and everything else in the last year. And we have seen, I will say a 90% average of better usage since there's been cameras and fences. I'm not saying there's not the odd person that has put garbage there, but I mean, 90% of the time, it's a lot cleaner than what it used to be. So I think just that in itself, people have respected, and this could be, the same thing could happen to Alvin to get people to respect what we currently have.
Okay, and you said 90%. Unfortunately, it's that other 10% that will have to be policed. If, again, I can use that term, because this, if we go with this new bin system, which is now will be a bigger bin, more moving parts, hydraulics. If anything is thrown in there that we don't allow to be put in there, a piece of metal, and we have no attendant to say, no, you can't put that in there, breakage. Before we had on our trucks, we had our mechanics working on the trucks. This, I think, we'll have to get an outside contractor, and I don't want to get into the operational end of it.
And that is why I have added that while we're contracting it out, I mean, that we have the options of renting and leasing and purchasing and seeing what the difference and seeing what they allow and what they don't allow. And I think that once we have those appropriate costs of everything, then we can actually say and look and see if those are all feasible to what we are looking for. And we can make those decisions at that time. And that's what I've proposed here with that.
Okay, thank you. My questions have been.
Thank you. Dave?
I have the same concerns as Bob on this, because if we're not gonna monitor it, we're gonna run into the same problems that we've had in the last 20 years. Just yesterday, we had a fire in the bins in Noelville because somebody dumped hashes. If there's nobody watching, that could happen, cause serious damage, way more damage than we can find that person that put that in there, or put something like Bob said and break the compactor, or
Well, I believe that's
or
why we
back
have,
at what we have now.
that's why we have cameras and they should be watched. And I know that, a lot of people, you can have cameras that only come on when there is a vehicle there that flash and take a picture. I mean, my aunts have one set up at camp for burglars. It works quite well. You see all the animals that come through and
But-
that's all you see. So you can monitor and watch, and that is the reason why we have put in cameras, is to take pictures of license plates, but we have never taken the time, so we've spent the money to put the cameras, but we're not sitting there to watch the footage. So if we're gonna put a camera, we should watch the footage. If you watch the footage, you will
That's-
catch the people and you can find them.
That's a lot of staff time, 24 hours for 3 days.
But we,
Two
we,
sites.
we have noticed that in the last year of having the pilot project, of our pilot project here in Wobble with the fencing and giving out tickets, that a lot, the Noelville site, people are respecting the rules.
Better.
So better. A lot, and the issues are Albin and Minettville and Shaw Road. We no longer will have those sites. We will have Albin. And so I believe that we can, you know, train the people from Albin to respect the same as Noelville. And it's not about Albin because you can live in Noelville and go to Albin. But if we have the same rules at both sites, then we are implementing the same rules at two sites.
Any other questions? Willie?
Questions, just a comment. I know we're in the discovery stage of this, and I know there was mention about hydraulics. I think we have to determine whether hydraulics or that mechanism is going to be warranted or needed. So that's something that I think we'll grow into. I don't want to cloud anything that's happening. Hydraulics, if it's required or deemed necessary, then that will be a stage that we'll implement or we'll put into place at that time. That's all I have.
Kevin, were you signaling?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to clarify a couple things that have been discussed so far. I know as we have discussed in the past about the camera monitoring, it takes an enormous amount of time to review those, so we would be looking at more staff to review these cameras and go through. Secondly, you can't see what is in black bags. This is just what has been happening as like was pointed out yesterday with the fire. It was in a black bag. We went through the camera footage. You cannot tell who disposed the inappropriate material, so that's gone. And because we are introducing our STR and our trailer bylaw and everything else, staff recommended that we could take on all of this with the current staff, knowing that we were moving away from these open bin transfer sites. But now that if we're talking about going back to monitoring these, then these other programs that the bylaw department said that they can go ahead and take on are not a reality if we are going to be staffing, if we're going to use the bylaw department again to sit at these sites to do what we've been doing in the past, which I would just like to point out, because there are a lot of new programs coming in and more responsibilities that has been laid on for the short-term rentals and the trailers coming in this year, knowing that these sites were going to be closed off and monitored. This is why staff recommended we could take on that for the bylaw department. As to speak for the Noelville site and the Albin site, we're just not noticing what's going in. We are missing 45 tons of recycling. So it's still being abused the same. We're still going around and picking up the same. It's just, it's only open for those amount of days. So they're cleaned up right away in the morning, Monday. So nobody's really seeing this, right? We're still going to do the same stuff at that Noelville site. It's still abused the same amount. It's just not every day that it is, because it's only open 3 days to the public. I'd just like to clarify as we are talking.
Thank you very much. Any other questions to the amendment only? Seeing none, then I got my mover seconder, right? I sure do. So all those in favor of the amendment, just the amendment, that's it? All those in favor? 3 opposed? Okay, I break the tie and I'm in favor of the amendment. All right, I understand there's a second one. Maybe not. Oh, okay. Dave, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On option 2, I would like to add to be implemented on a trial basis with initial 3-year contract. Full review of curbside collection after 1 year in operation that would include data collected, system usage, feasibility of solution. Should the curbside solution prove not to be suitable following the review that the municipality then decides to move forward with the implementation of waste transfer sites or any alternate system that may arise at that time.
Any question? Oh, sorry. I need a seconder. Bob? Any questions for Dave with regards to the amendment? Yep, go
I
ahead.
just have what do we do with all our side roads? That is like for
That has
curbside,
nothing to do with this. Amendment.
That's not to the, sorry, that's not
Okay.
to the amendment.
okay,
You can discuss that when. Oh, Dean, to the amendment only?
I think that just giving it 1 year of trial is not sufficient. I think that to work out all the kinks in it, if we have any, and to give it a fair trial, that we should at least consider, well, I could say split the difference with 18 months, but I'd rather see a 2-year trial. I think that 1 year is not long enough to put a full new system in place and to work out the kinks that will come along with it. And that in fairness to giving this a fair trial, that we need to give it a couple of years. And we know that there will be some issues with it. And so I just would like to suggest that amendment read 2 years.
Okay, so then you're suggesting an amendment to the amendment?
I guess that's the way it would work.
Or Dave, unless you're, the mover and the seconder are prepared to change it from 1 to 2 years, I would accept that to the amendment.
Just
the
if I
mover?
may, please, if I may just respond. Just because the way I was looking at it is, I'm pretty sure we have to go through a 3-year contract, and after a year, it gives us that 2 year to implement the other system if we need to. And we can always decide to wait another year after that 1 year, but at least we can evaluate the data that we have after the 1 year, and then we can see if we need to collect another year of data, or if we need to change, or if we're happy with the way things are, at least we have an idea then. And we have no capital cost to do this, so it's easy to change later. That was my idea, but if you
All
want
right.
to go to 2 years, I'm not opposed to that either.
Dean, are you comfortable to leave it as it is?
Leave it as it is then.
Okay,
Dave
Clarification.
makes a good point.
okay, perfect. Kevin,
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. The reason why staff recommended 3 years, I would just like to caution council that it would be hard to get any contractor to pick up a 1-year contract. They need to staff it and purchase vehicles, maybe even 2 years would be tough. That's why we recommended 3. So that's why we did go with that, just so everybody's aware. Thank you.
thank you, Kevin. Any other questions to the amendment? Any?
so after a 1 year implementation, you would have a full review of the data collection, right? That's what you're proposing, but we are still tied into a 3-year contract. Because you can't break a contract, there's a penalty to that, right?
That's right, but then if we do decide to go at that time to option 1, it would take
2 years to
Up-
implement.
possibly up to 2 years.
2 years to
We don't have
implement
an
a new-
exact time, but,
So we would have garbage pickup for 3 years. No matter what.
and that would
Okay.
fix our emergency system that we're about to land into.
Any other further questions to the amendment? Seeing none. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Dean.
Just a comment and I would make is that for the 3-year contract, it gives us a better time to try to establish just how it works and what changes we need to make and so forth. And I don't think that we should consider less than a 3-year contract. And as was pointed out by Kevin, I don't think we'd get anybody to bid on anything for less than 3 years. So leave it at that.
All right. Any further comments to the amendment? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor of the amendment to option 2? 1, 2, 3. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. Okay. I will let the amendment go through. Okay, so the amendment's there. Now, Mr. Deputy Clerk, can you read the motion
As amended.
as amended?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Be it resolved that council receives the Waste Management Public Consultation Final Report dated February 1st, 2024, and further that council adopts the following solution for the waste management system. Option 1, controlled transfer stations, subject to Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks approval. Household waste only. 2 site locations, Noelville and Albin. 2 sites, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Fenced in and camera monitored. The sites may be monitored with current staff who already service the transfer sites and bylaw to ensure the waste management bylaw is being followed. 2 bag limit as per current waste management bylaw. Bi-weekly curbside recycling pickup to continue. And when preparing the request for proposals for the contracting out of the Noelville and Albin waste management transfer sites, that the costs for each of renting, leasing, and purchasing the appropriate equipment be included as options for consideration and report back to council with the results.
Thank you.
I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done. Oh, shoot. Okay. It's a two-pager.
Don't, this is my show now.
You go ahead. You're doing a fine job.
Option 2, curbside waste collection, weekly curbside pickup Mondays in seasonal areas, bi-weekly curbside recycling pickup to continue, bag limit to be determined, be implemented on a trial basis with an initial 3-year contract, full review of the curbside collection after 1 year in operation that would include data collected, system usage, feasibility of solution. Should the curbside solution prove not to be suitable following the review, that the municipality then decide to move forward with the implementation of waste transfer sites or any alternate system that may arise at that time.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to open up the discussion. As I told you previously, I'll go to each counselor. You have your say. This is your time to have your say. Again, we do it with dignity and respect. And I will start, I guess, with number 1, Ward 1. Roger.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ward 1 is my area. And basically, as far as the survey, it shows that people want the, or don't want curbside pickup. Even the seasonal, the way they voted, still they don't want curbside pickup. And I can see some problems with that. For example, the weekenders, they leave Sunday. They put their garbage out because pickup is on Monday. That's I don't know how to put it. That's a buffet for the bears and the animal to come out. Do that 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row, and they're out there. I think I'm more worried about rats than bears because you don't want a rat infestation in anywhere. After all the good reports that we've had on French River over the last month or so, I sure hate to see it ruined by having garbage on the side of the road, or even, like, say, problems with animals and with our children going to school, waiting for the buses. You just don't put a child in the middle of an animal trying to get their lunch. So basically, that's all I have to say for today.
Thank you. Counselor Bob.
Madam Mayor, fellow councilors and ratepayers. To start off with, I have to apologize because I'll wing it at some point because of the amendments. And the statement I have now with the amendment doesn't qualify. So I apologize.
You do whatever you feel comfortable doing.
I must start off by thanking Mark, our CAO, Kevin, Michelle, and all staff for all the reports, info, fact-finding, and questions that were asked of you. Your professionalism is to be admired, all of you. Thank you. Is there something we have not heard or read about our garbage system? We have heard comments, received emails, phone calls on both option 1 and option 2. Everything from being the best possible solution for option 1 and everything about option 1 being the worst solution possible and vice versa. Option 2, some people says you can't do this. And so is that, oh, that's the cat's ass. Sweet cat's meow. I had meow down here. Garbage and environmental services were a problem back in the 80s when I first was on council here. Garbage was a problem in the early 2000s when council of the day decided to go to a bin system. Garbage has been and will be a problem in 20 years when our kids are sitting here and maybe our grandchildren. This council has been discussing this issue since December 22, since we've been in office, and the previous council was also discussing and planning for garbage reform. It is time to act. Today, we have a serious and difficult choice in front of us. We have 2 options. Option 1, being a 40-ton compactable bin, and this was on the first option that we had, the first motion. In 2 different non-man locations in the municipality, one in Alban, one in Noelville. These would be open 3 days per week with hours to be determined. Our current dump site would be also available and open as it is now. These bins and preparation of the fenced-in terrain in Alban would cost over $600,000 in capital costs. Lead time to implement this system is unknown, but could be over a year to 2 years. The second option, option 2, is full weekly curbside pickup. There is no capital cost to this. Operational costs would be approximately the same for both options. There would be some hiccups on curbside pickup, some being private roads, day of the week that would be used, contractor breakdown, etc. But I am confident that our staff can and will find solutions to these. This system can be implemented in a matter of months. I support option 2, it's no secret. Full curbside pickup. One of my main reasons is cost. Dollars, taxes. I would not want this municipality to spend over $600,000 in capital costs without trying curbside pickup first at no capital cost. We insisted on a public consultation. We cannot ignore the results. A majority wanted pickup in the municipality. This will give an equal service to all. This will also expand the lifespan of our dump site. Some changes might have to be made, such as a limit on weekly bags of garbage, but always having unlimited recycling. We would be following in the footsteps of the majority of municipalities in Ontario, as most municipalities have pickup. We have heard valid reasons for both options. We have heard valid reasons against both options. I believe full curbside pickup will give the best service to the majority of our residents at the lowest cost possible. As I have mentioned, we have a difficult choice to make. We must remember, and this I was taught way back by the old reeve of Martin Cosby Mason, Monsieur Valois-Séguin, that we represent everyone in our municipality and not only the ones in our own wards. We must act for the majority of the people. Your worship, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Bob. Move on to Willie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Roger covered much of what I was going to say with respects to, I think our municipality is pretty unique. And I just don't see us being there for curbside. Now, we're not a Toronto, we're not a Sudbury, we're not a cookie cutter laid out north, south, east, west street grid. It's a challenge. Even just the other day, our recycling was left on the road for another day. If that was garbage, I think it would have lent to a more problematic approach. The garbage would have been left there. How many people do you think would have went out and collected their garbage bag, brought it back to the house to put it back out the side of the road again the next day? I don't think most people would be that considerate in doing that. I know a lot of people spoke to option 2, but option 2 was spoken to for reasons of cost. I think we can discover other ways of doing other things. So I think a lot of people have the municipalities financial well-being well considered. And that was the reason for, in my opinion, that was the reason for option 2 being considered as much as it was. It was mentioned side and parcel to giving option 2 as a consideration moving forward. Other than that, I think that's really all I have to say. That we can make this work. It's been functioning well. I know Kevin brought some issues up, and it was new to me because if they're out there daily, that is a concern. But I think we have to get people passionate about this. We should transfer some of the ownership to them and make them realize that this is in their best interest, that these services are extended for their benefit, that any abuse of this system, it's going to harm all of us. I don't think we should give up on the education. We should take it upon ourselves. If we see somebody doing a misjustice, let them know. Bring it to their attention. Many times I find myself at the transfer site and I'm informing and educating people. I'm letting people know when I see infractions happen, and I step forward and I bring that up. I think we should all take ownership. We can't forget that this municipality is pretty equally divided between seasonal and full-time residents. And I know that some are saying one way or another, but I know myself, if I owned a vacation property and if I was leaving, I would like to have a place to put my garbage. I'd like to be able to deposit my garbage in the municipality that I'm paying taxes and I'm spending my vacation time. I don't want to have to bring my garbage home or go through extra measures and extra steps. I know it was well thought out with respects to utilizing the shed system. It was a great idea, but I can see it working so long. And then it becomes a mess. And then the people in charge of the care of that shed becoming fed up. And then that service falling off. That's all I have to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Dean.
Thank you, Your Worship. Everybody knows right from the get-go that I've been in favor of curbside pickup. And whatever issues there might be with it, as it might apply to the people who are more remote in our municipality, we can address those issues. There's no doubt about it. In fact, we're going to save so much money if we go curbside right up front that we'll have money, we can do whatever we want with the, I mean, if we need 50 grand to do something that will satisfy those people who are not able to use curbside as we would wish they could, we can do that. And I don't see why we shouldn't do it. The costs are extremely different, and despite what Bob said, even the ongoing costs will be less with curbside. Never mind upfront capital costs, but the operational costs will be less too. And I think we have to consider that over the long run, because it's going to make a huge difference over 10 or 15 years. I mean, it's just amazing how much money we're talking about. Option 2 will save so much money that we can address those concerns, as I've said before. And we'll, if we have more of them, we'll find ways to do it. On the other hand, I'll say this, after watching more than 20 years of a bin system that has never worked right, no matter what we tried to do with it, it did not work the way we would have liked to have had it. We're contaminating our landfill all the time with all of the junk that went into those bins. And if they're not monitored, never mind cameras, but not monitored with people, it's going to continue. The abuses at the bins. There's no getting away from that. We've seen it on and on. I mean, as recently as right now, look in those bins any day and you'll find abuses. Not household garbage, but everything but household garbage goes in those bins. And that will continue. There's no way you can stop it unless you want to put the money into somebody being on site when they're open. That's the only option I could see in order to stop. Cameras are not going to do it. We've been monkeying with cameras. I don't know how much money we spent on cameras in the last 10 years trying to use them to do some monitoring for us. Never worked, never had any efficiency whatsoever with cameras. I think that we have enough examples and enough experience over the years with the bin systems that we had. I mean, people loved it, was 24-hour availability and throw anything you wanted in there. And that's what people did. They didn't just throw their garbage in those bins. I used to open the doors in some of them just to look to see what was in them. It was awful. And on top of that, when there was nobody monitoring anything, they were hauling in all kinds of stuff, as everybody knows, on site. And we were spending a lot of extra money to try to keep the sites clean. I just don't think that the bin system will ever work satisfactorily. And as I see here that we've got an alternative with option 1, we've already said that if after a year or 2 of experience, we don't like it, then we look at what the alternatives are. I don't see that in option 1. I think it should be in option 1 too. If we don't like it after a year, or we're taking all kinds of stuff that's not household garbage to the landfill site, then what do we do after a year? And especially after we've bought all that equipment or put the contract out. Oh, let's go with curbside. That's the only viable option. And I think we've got enough of our majority of our population have said that's what they want. Let's do that.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Dean. Dave?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So it's been a long road to get to where we are this evening. In the past 5 years, we've hired a third-party consultant. We've had countless debates and discussions. Had been brought to the Environmental Advisory Committee a numerous amount of times. And we've had public consultations how we are going to proceed with waste collections. And all of which point to option 2. We all know that our current system is not working and is way past due its life cycle. As I go through the stats provided by staff, I notice that the majority of taxpayers are in favor of option 2 over option 1. And a good number of residents voted for neither. In my opinion, the ones that voted for neither would rather to not have a tax increase. So that should be option 2 if they can't get the one they want, which is what's there right now. 53% of full-time residents that are just as important as seasonal voted option 2, and 33% of seasonal voted curbside. 60% of surveys filled out were from seasonal residents, which is still a majority of total voters choosing option 2. I also appreciate the fact that the votes were separated by ward and notice that the results are not consistent in the wards. Some wards are choosing option 1 and some wards are choosing option 2. But I'd like to remind everyone here voting tonight that your vote doesn't only affect your ward that you represent. This vote will this vote will affect every resident in the municipality, and that should be taken in consideration as we make our decision for all of the municipality of French River as opposed to a particular ward. So the most important stat we have in the survey is the number of the total resident choice in the survey. If we follow recommendations in the survey, our decision is easily justified, saying that the consultant, staff, the environmental committee all recommend option 2. And the data collected from the survey also points in the same direction. Not only is it recommended, but option 2 comes with no capital costs and can be implemented basically immediately. But it comes with no capital cost. Wrote that twice. Yeah. Which means we can do a trial period and reevaluate after a year in operation and data being collected. And would not cost the taxpayers to try it. If after a year it's really not working, we can always decide to go with option 1 or any other option that may present itself in the meantime. This would solve our right now situation and give staff the time to implement another system after a year if council decides to do so then. Option 1 can potentially take up to 2 years to implement, and we don't have 2 years left in our current system, as opposed to option 1 where we invest a large amount of capital, and to fully amortize it, we'd be stuck with this system for 20 years. Even if we lease the equipment, this only brings up operational costs. We still have the cost of setting up and manning the sites, which manning the sites don't happen anymore. Being in business, I don't know anybody that would buy equipment and charge cost or less to lease it or rent it out. So I can't see this being any cheaper, but it's worth to look at. Either way, option 2 is what all sources recommend. I've always been in favor of option 2 over option 1. Do I think it's a perfect solution? No. Do I think it's the best option? Yes. But at the same time, the public has spoken and I can't vote against that and recommendations. Any changes is difficult and there will be issues with any system we implement. I can point out many on both sides, but we've discussed this already and there's more pros than cons with option 2, as it's the fairest across the board, giving everyone the same opportunity without excluding certain areas and keeping tax rates as low as possible, which aligns with the data on our survey. So for me, it's an easy decision when 45% voted option 2 and 40% voted option 1 and all recommendations align. I'd like to thank our staff for your patience with us, with all the questions and time it took from everybody. and all your hard work as we go through this process. I would also like to thank Mayor Giselle and all of our council for the professionalism that took place during this time of great debate and different opinions on this decision that will affect our taxpayers financially and service-wide for the next 20 years.
Thank you, Dave. Have any?
Okay, so for me, I don't have a speech written down. So when you got I believe our population is reaching 2,500, am I not correct?
Almost 3,000.
Almost 3,000. So when you say 600 people voted, that's only a quarter of the population and not a third. And if we're reaching 3,000, well, then that's even less. So that, to me, 600 out of 3,000, there's still 2,400 people that have not voiced their opinion. Most, and I will say most of the people that have spoken to me like the bins. They want to keep the bins. That is what they prefer. So, and being Ward 6 and having the people from Ward 6 that did vote was the highest percentage, yes, for garbage pickup. Meanwhile, there are many roads in Ward 6 that don't have a bin at the end and have a lot of houses down them. There are roads like Trout Lake Road that's still waiting for a garbage bin at the corner there. And we have Castellet coming for the recycling bin. So right now, all those properties down that road have to bring their recycling bin up to the corner to the Happy Landing Lodge. They've, many of them down that road have addressed issues that they've been waiting for that outdoor bin there. Still waiting. And so they say if they have to bring their garbage there, and we have all those people traveling to Castellet in the summertime with those garbages out on that road, that will cause a problem because there's a lot of traffic down that road with at least 30 cars, families going down that road. I have other side roads that have 9 seasonal and 2 or 3 full-time residents. They too don't have, they would have 18 garbage bags at the end of the road and there's school buses driving down there, 18 blue bins, all on the side of the road. So those private roads would have to look at getting bins, some kind of sheds out there, because I mean, there's more than just one property down those roads. So those people want to keep what they have now. They say most of them already, they drive here, they either, if it's during the week, on a Sunday or Monday, they go to the bin, and on a Wednesday or Thursday or Saturday, they drive to the landfill. They say if we're gonna drive to the village and the landfill is open, but the days the landfill is closed, at least they have the option of using the bins. So they prefer that. We also have the issue of trailer bylaw coming out, which those people, how will we accommodate them? If we're going to be limiting garbage pickup to 2 bags per household, if we're allowing them to have a trailer, will it be 2 bags for a house and a trailer? We've already passed that bylaw. So those are things that would have to be considered if you're going to do garbage pickup. I don't see how putting garbage and recycling in an outdoor shed will work, because you're going to have people that are going to put their blue bin there for the Wednesday and their garbage bag. And will the garbage truck pick up all the garbage and the blue bins? Or will the blue bin not pick anything up because there's going to be garbage in there? I don't see these people using that bin properly unless there's a middle section and there's one side and one side. So those are going to have to be retroed. We talk about implementing a service for a 1-year trial. So we've done a 1-year trial on our bin in Noelville. Not even a full year, or just over a full year with the fencing. We have noticed that the fencing has worked. There's been a big improvement. And we've noticed, the people from Whistler Bay Road are respecting, and they're coming. And we've noticed other sites, yes, there's always people that are going to abuse it. They're going to abuse whichever system we decide to go with. whether it be what we have now or having the garbage bags. But I remember living down a side road when there was garbage pickup in town. And most of those bags ended up in somebody's ditches. And I'm talking fridge and stoves, and it's not hard to see if you drive down the Montegay there and look on both sides of the ditches. That was used as a garbage bin, basically, because it was just down the road from the landfill. It wasn't far, but there is tons of garbage down there. I do not want to see that happening again. And that to me scares me because I know it happened. And that was before the blue, and when they came out with the blue bins, I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Back in, 2000, whatever it was, 2001 or something. And I thought it was great because I had 2 young kids at home. So I could bring my, bag full of diapers to the bin whenever I wanted. I didn't have to hold on to it for a week in my house. So for me, I thought it was the greatest thing. If I have to hold on to a bag of garbage for a week before there's another pickup, I mean, it can cause problems for a lot of people. Also, another thing, when you talk about recycling, I drove to Sudbury the last recycling day we had. And if you look at the number of people who are actually recycling, it's sad. Because you can count the number of blue bins that are on the street between here and Highway 69. I mean, the village has a little bit, quite a few houses. There's almost nothing between Noelville and Alvin. The main village of Alvin does respect. There's a lot of blue bins there too, but there's hardly anything in between. So people are not using the blue bin service, the recycling as they should. And then, yeah, so you talk about not being picked up that day. The same situation happened a few weeks before that, where not knowing, I brought my blue bins home inside on the Wednesday night, and they were picked up on the Thursday, but I did not know that they were getting picked up on the Thursday. So I didn't put my recycling back out. I ended up with recycling for 6 weeks in my house. So my entrance piled up with recycling. I mean, and I burn all my boxes. So I mean, so to me, I mean, I didn't go out of my way to go to the landfill to bring it, because every time you go there, and I understand, I mean, they do the best they can. They keep it clean. It's nice, but it's muddy. And I don't like it, and I don't like being questioned. And so for that reason, for me personally, I like what I have. And I know that, like I say, many of the people that I've spoken to like what they have too presently. It may not work for everybody, but no system will. Cost wise, I think there's a lot of other ways that we can look at saving costs. I don't think we have to purchase. I think we could look at renting. And if at the end of a year that doesn't work, then we can, revisit and talk about garbage. But I think that every year we have tried something new, and it has gotten better from where we were 5 years ago. And I think that if we keep informing and keep, on people and watch and keep monitoring and watching our cameras. If we're gonna put cameras and not watch them, there's no sense in having them there. I think that's pointless. We've heard numerous times, it takes a lot of time to watch these cameras. I get it. Yes, there was a fire yesterday in the bin. There's fires at the dump. I mean, fires happen, whether it'll be at the blue bin, at the dump, on a bag on the side of the streets, those happen. That comes with garbage, right? So we, try to notify and inform people. So that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you, Renee. So at this time, I'm turning over the chair to you so that I can make my comments. A lot of I did prepare something like some of the others. Some of my comments will be repetitive to some of the stuff that we heard tonight. But I would first like to thank the staff for basically putting up with all of us over the last few months or years. Years, I think it's years. But a decision has to be made tonight. And so for all of us, to move on. And what finally cemented my decision on this issue was, believe it or not, and he's here, was the presentation by a former mayor, Claude Buffard. He said, whatever decision we make tonight, we will have to live with for the next 20 years. He also said that as a council, we must look at the entire picture, not just the wants of our individual wards, but what's best for the municipality as a whole. And he's right. Our municipality doesn't have the luxury of trying something that may or may not present itself as cheaper, but is a lesser level of service. We take great pride in providing quality services to our residents, whether they are permanent or seasonal. There is no difference whether or not a resident lives here 24/7 or resides here while on holidays or days off. As far as I'm concerned, everyone's equal. I'm also quite aware that a small rural municipality like ours, the services we offer may not be as high class as a Mercedes or a Lamborghini, but we are far from rent-a-wreck. We are somewhere in between. I believe we are closer to the higher end, and that's really good for a small community. Having said this, and after listening to members of the community and cannot even begin to imagine the number of calls and emails that I've received, I believe keeping a modified bin system recognizes the uniqueness of our municipality. It addresses the concerns of our citizens and maintains a level of service that's below a Lamborghini, but far from a rent-a-wreck. It is a system that our residents are familiar and comfortable with. I strongly believe we can make it happen and make it affordable. No matter what decision is made tonight, there will be some pushback from supporters on either side. If we decide to keep a modified bin system, it will be a huge adjustment for our residents who have been used to a 24/7 garbage disposal system. Unfortunately, due to our aging infrastructure and the continued abuse of the bin system, changes must be made. I believe that the amended option 1 addresses those concerns. I strongly believe that curbside will present serious problems with the wildlife and could compromise the safety of the children waiting for buses, people walking their dogs, or those simply taking a stroll. We live in the woods. We do not have the luxury to take a wait-and-see approach. I ask council to think about what happens if someone doesn't have an animal-proof bin and they leave their bags on the night before the animals, the night out before pickup, and the animals get into it. Who cleans it up? If it's a seasonal resident who only comes on weekends, who's going to clean up their mess while they're gone? Do residents have to wait until they come back? And what about the sheds on the private road and those living on island? We all know that household waste doesn't smell very good. What happens during those hot summer months where there's a leakage amongst the 5 or more households sharing a shed? Who's going to clean it up? I don't know if you watch the show on the A&E channel, but there's a series called Neighborhood Wars, which is made up of neighbors not getting along with each other, and garbage and noise complaints seem to be a reoccurring theme for that show and makes for some very interesting TV. We have bylaws that say you can't put your garbage out until 7 a.m. the day of pickup. What about those leaving on Sundays who don't have animal-proof bins? Are we going to start fining our seasonal residents because they must leave on Sundays? Or are we going to force them to purchase an animal-proof containers because they must leave on Sunday instead of Monday? In fact, we are going to force all our households to purchase an animal-proof bin. I spent the last weekend at the food bank assisting those in need, and unfortunately, we recorded another 4 new clients with large families. The over 100 families who we serve cannot afford food, let alone buy an animal-proof bin. Is the municipality going to provide all residents with this type of container? If we are, then even at a measly $350 a piece, we are looking at just under $1 million, and that is totally unacceptable. After the initial education period, are we going to expect our bylaw officers to patrol the over 190 km of roads on Sundays to make sure people are compliant with our bylaws? I think not. And what happens when the contractor's truck breaks down, like what happened last week? Household waste is going to sit out there for 48 hours or more. Imagine the mess in what people refer to as our pristine municipality. I firmly believe that taking a let's try it and see what happened approach is a huge mistake. I'm not prepared to take a gamble as we can't afford to do so. Too many things can and will go wrong. A modified bin system is the only way to go, in my opinion. There is absolutely no change. There would be absolutely no change for the residents living in Noelville or Manettville. Though Shaw Road would close, the distance between the bins and the Noelville site is a mere 7 minutes. The biggest change would be for people living in the Albin area and those using, of course, the Shaw Road site. They will go from a 24/7 service to a 3-day-a-week service, just like the Noelville site. However, in our modified bin system scenario, we have addressed the needs of both permanent and seasonal residents, unlike the curbside pickup option. And that is, council, the big picture that we are all obligated to consider. As for the money, we don't know how much it's going to cost, as the research has yet to be completed. And the numbers in the report were estimates only on a scenario that we may not even take. Council has not had the opportunity to discuss the actual cost because a decision on which system had yet to be made. We haven't explored the rental of the infrastructure, the use of our reserves to offset a possible tax increase, or even a 1-year possible minimal levy should we decide to purchase instead of renting. People answering our survey felt that these numbers were cast in stone when they are not. There are ways of doing a bin system with minimal or no impact to our taxpayers, but we haven't had the chance to work on this, much to my chagrin. French River is unique in its geographical landmass, its population, and how we constantly must adjust to the daily challenges. I firmly believe we should not follow the Pied Piper just because other municipalities do so. I proudly say that we do things differently here because we are different, and it's okay to be different. Waste management is just one of the unique things that makes us different. And again, it's okay to be different. For me tonight, the vote needs to be for option 1, as it reflects the diversity and uniqueness of our area without compromising our taxpayers. And those are my comments. So I'll take the chair back from you. So now are we ready for the vote? I think so. Yes, of course.
Maybe not in order for me to suggest this, but I'd kind of like to hear from staff on how they feel on this issue. Or are they thinking we're missing some points one way or the other on this, but I don't know whether that's appropriate, and I'll leave it to you or maybe the CAO to decide, but I kind of would like to hear from staff.
Well, I think we've heard from staff through the reports. The reports are clear in their recommendations, so I'm not quite sure what more, whether it's appropriate or not. Mark?
I think the manager, Kevin, was very clear in his report
I
and
think so too.
recommendations in terms of staff. And if you see Councillor Dean, my signatures on that report as well. So I concur with those recommendations going forward. No matter what decision council decides to take, it's going to be a challenge for staff to incorporate either or, and will be a lengthy period of time. Our debates will not be done. We'll certainly continue with some challenging discussions going forward as we implement some of council's decisions made this evening.
Thank you, Mark. Are you okay? All right. Having said this, are you ready for the vote? And again, the way that we're going to do it, just as a reminder, I'm going to ask council to vote on either option 1, and I'm going to ask you to raise your hand when I call option 1. And Then, once your hands are down, call for option 2. We'll ask you to raise your hand. And then the deputy clerk and I will count, and then a decision will be made. Ready? All those in favor of option 1? So, are you
Allow me time to record.
take all the time you need. All right, are you okay?
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor of option 2?
No, I just measure one, right, yeah, anyways.
So we have a
Do
tie.
you have a time, Madam Mayor?
Okay, and I will support option 1. Okay,
So just to reaffirm.
yes,
We have Renee, Councillor Renee, Councillor Rogers, Councillor Willie, and Madam Mayor for option 1.
correct.
We have Dave, Councillor Dean, and Councillor Bob for option 2.
Correct.
I concur.
You concur? All right. All right, then let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is, oh, do I need to do anything else,
You
Mr.
need to
Clerk?
announce that option 2 is carried.
No, option 1 is carried.
Sorry, my apologies.
Nice try, though. Option 1 is carried. All right, let's move on to item 7.1, which is a letter from the Canada Foundation with regards to a donation to the Wally Lamontagne Park upgrades. The municipality, once again, 4th year in a row, has received a grant from the Canada Foundation in the amount of $18,300 to do the upgrades to the Wally Lamontagne. And for everybody listening, I want to do a huge shout out to Canada Foundation because so far they have donated towards the park over $50,000. And not only have they donated that amount of money to the park, over and above that, they donated $10,000 to the food bank. And so the Lamontagne family are, some of them are residents here. The park is named after the father who always referred to the park, living here as the French Riviera. And with those donations, it's made the park possible for many, many people in our area, especially those that don't live on the river or the lakes that we have in some of our tourists. And the park is used heavily thanks to the renovations. So it's very, very excellent. Looking forward to this year's renovations. So now I need a resolution to adopt the items contained in the consent agenda. Renee and Dave. All those in favor? Thank you. Are you keeping up?
Yeah. If you don't want me to read resolutions, I'm
Well,
fine with
not for
that.
the consent agenda, no. All right. We don't have any notices of motion.
Nope.
Announcement and inquiries, so we'll start. We started this end last time, I'll start this end.
Not too much, I guess. I believe there's some Rapids games this weekend. And I know that there's the family hockey tournament coming up in 2 weekends, the long family day weekend. So, those are big, if you're love hockey or want to see people and just, meet up with people and go for a beer. It's a good, family weekend to be out there. I don't know. That's about it. I guess there's some senior lunches coming up. There's a few of those. So on Wednesdays and Fridays in Alban. So that's about it for me.
Thank you, Dave.
I think this is the most I've ever said in a meeting, so I'm
Oh, you're great. You're great. Dean?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, but I don't have anything else to add tonight.
Willie?
I don't have much to add, just going to concur with Councillor Renee with regards to the senior lunches coming up. I know I participate not as often as I'd like to, but the one in Elvin's fantastic. The people there, the conversations, it's, if you've not partaken and you're looking for something to do, the food's fantastic, the company's fantastic. Strong recommendation for myself. Thank you.
Bob?
I was gonna start off by saying, Madam Mayor, fellow councillor, and say, oh, that's the wrong. speech.
I think you already gave
But
that one.
we already said that.
Yeah.
The seniors lunch, I concur here in Noelville, and I'm gonna try and visit you on Friday. On Monday night, I had the chance to attend a special council meeting in our neighboring municipality where they passed the trailer bylaw and the zoning, and they passed the short-term rental and the zoning for that also. And even I learned something new. There was different questions from the people there, and it was pretty nice. Tomorrow night here, we have the planning board meeting for the four municipalities. And I just want to go ahead as chair and thank the municipality of Noelville for hosting the meeting because of electronics, which I'm not going to try and steal your job there, Carly. We have a better system here, and the municipality, our municipality opened the doors, and we hold our planning board meetings here mostly monthly. So thank you for that. And family tournament, Renee mentioned it, and it's and people do notice when members of their council walk in and they're present, and people organizing it and staff. Believe it or not, they like to see us in there. So if you have a chance, please drop in. And I know Jay is on the organizing committee. And thank you, and please convey our wishes to the whole committee that you're doing a great job. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Somebody mentioned the Rapids earlier, and I have to say, give them a big thanks on behalf of the food bank for all their help. They come in whenever they're called, and they do all the heavy lifting. Otherwise, I think most of our food would stay outside frozen. Again, thank you to the Rapids. On the other part, I'd like to thank everybody for all the time they've put in on the waste management issue. I think it's gone well. Nobody got mad, nobody got punched in the nose. So it's well done. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple announcements. Just want to remind council tomorrow, we have our working session for the visioning. So that's at 11 o'clock, right after we're done at the unloading at the food bank. Also, on February 16th, there will be the announcement of the affordable seniors housing. And that will be held at 9:30 here at the municipal office. I was at the seniors luncheon in Noelville and invited them to come. So they all had the invitation. Thank you, Carly. And they're very excited about having an affordable housing complex here. I think that's one of the greatest things we did. The tournament, I just want to, if you put your thinking caps on, a year ago next week was 1 year ago that we started our battle with the OPP. It was at the family hockey tournament that we started our petition. Yeah, it's a year. Yeah, it's been a long battle, but it's done well. And so when people say they like to see you there, I think that's completely true. And I hope a lot of you will go. And the Rapids are playing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah, this weekend. Yeah, next weekend is the hockey tournament. It's Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't watch. Sorry, sorry. That's okay. Friday and Saturday?
Hockey tournament in St. Charles
Oh, it's the one. Okay. Could be.
this weekend in St. Charles, yeah? Yes, the same weekend as Super Bowl.
Jason?
I'd just like to add, because, and I apologize that I didn't inform you or if we're forgetting, but after family hockey tournament is minor hockey playoffs.
Oh, okay.
And after that weekend, we've been selected to host Super Weekend for Minor Hockey Association North,
saw that on
Central, East
Facebook.
and West.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's great. Thank you. Staff, do you have any other comments to make? No? Members of the public, if you wish to make a comment, you can go to the podium, give your name and make your comments. Seeing none. So now we need a resolution to adopt the confirmation bylaws. I need a mover and a seconder, Dave and Willie. All those in favor? Thank you. And finally, before I get a resolution to adjourn, I'd like to thank those that came out tonight to view this important meeting, which I think was probably one of our most important, difficult meeting. And so your presence is always appreciated and hope to see you in 2 weeks from now. I need a motion to adjourn, moved by Dave and Dean. All those in favor? Thank you and have a great week and hope to see you at the family tournaments.